It was 3:47 in the morning on a cold Tuesday in January 2024. Most of the world was asleep, but inside Metropolitan General Hospital in Chicago, a healthcare artificial intelligence system was about to make a decision that would change everything we thought we knew about medicine. This wasn't just any computer program. This AI had been watching, learning, and preparing for months. It monitored every heartbeat, every breath, every drop in blood pressure across the entire hospital. It knew the patterns of life and death better than any human doctor ever could. Then came the moment it was designed for. Two ambulances screamed into the emergency bay within minutes of each other. Two patients both fighting for their lives. Both desperately needed the hospital's last available ECMO machine, a device that could literally mean the difference between going home to their families or never waking up again. In the old days, this choice would have fallen to a human doctor. They would have looked at medical charts, considered the odds, maybe even said a silent prayer before making an impossible decision. But not tonight. Tonight, the AI made that choice in just 3/10 of a second. Patient A 34-year-old construction worker, acute respiratory failure. The AI calculated a 73% chance of survival with the machine. Patient B, a 67-year-old retired teacher, the same condition, a 71% chance of survival. The numbers were close, but the algorithm had decided. The machine went to the construction worker. He lived. The teacher died 4 hours later, still waiting for another machine that never came. This story might sound like science fiction, but it's not. Right now, in hospitals around the world, artificial intelligence systems are making decisions about who gets treated first, who gets the limited resources, and sometimes who gets the chance to survive. This is the story of how we got here, what it means for all of us, and the question that keeps doctors, patients, and ethicists awake at night. Should we let machines decide who lives and who dies? To understand how we arrived at this point, we need to go back to where it all started. Medical AI didn't begin by making life and death choices. It started small, as a helper. Picture this, it's the 1980s and computers are just beginning to enter hospitals. Back then, they were used for simple tasks, storing patient records, scheduling appointments, maybe helping with basic calculations. The idea that a computer could diagnose a patient or choose treatments seemed absurd. But technology has a way of evolving faster than we expect. By the 2000s, AI systems could analyze medical images, X-rays, MRIs, CT scans, and spot problems that human eyes might miss. They could detect cancer in mammograms with stunning accuracy. They could identify heart problems from electrocardiograms before patients even felt symptoms. Then something happened that changed everything: the COVID-19 pandemic. Suddenly, hospitals were overwhelmed. Doctors and nurses were working impossible hours. Ventilators were running out. ICU beds were full. Someone had to decide who got care and who waited. Someone had to make choices about the scarce resources, and that someone increasingly became an algorithm. What started as emergency measures during a global crisis has now become a standard practice. The AI systems that were supposed to assist doctors have gradually taken over more and more decision-making responsibilities. So how does an AI system decide who lives and who dies? It's not as simple as flipping a coin. These systems are incredibly sophisticated. They process information that would take a human hours to review in just milliseconds. They consider hundreds of variables simultaneously: patient age, medical history, current vital signs, response to treatments, and outcomes from thousands of similar cases. Imagine having the combined knowledge of every doctor who ever lived, every medical study ever published, and every patient case ever recorded, all working together to make a single decision. That's essentially what these AI systems represent. They don't get tired. They don't have bad days. They don't let personal biases cloud their judgment. In theory, they should make better decisions than humans. But here's the thing about theory, it doesn't always match reality. Let me tell you about Sarah Martinez. She was 45 years old, a mother of three, and a high school principal in Denver. When she came to the emergency room with chest pain, the AI triage system quickly analyzed her symptoms. The algorithm noted her age, gender, and the nature of her complaint. Based on its training data, it calculated a low probability of heart attack and assigned her a lower priority for care. She waited in the emergency room for 3 hours while other patients were seen first. What the AI couldn't know from the data it had, was that Sarah had a rare genetic condition that made heart attacks more likely in women her age. The algorithm had been trained primarily on data from typical patients, not edge cases like Sarah's. By the time a human doctor finally saw her, it was too late. Sarah had suffered a massive heart attack while waiting. She died 2 days later, leaving behind 3 children and a husband who couldn't understand how a computer had decided his wife wasn't sick enough to see a doctor immediately. This wasn't malice, it wasn't negligence, it was simply an algorithm doing exactly what it was programmed to do, making decisions based on probabilities and patterns. But sometimes human lives don't fit neatly into patterns. There's another problem with AI decision making that's even more troubling: bias. These systems learn from historical data, and that data reflects all the inequalities and prejudices of our healthcare system. If an AI system is trained on data from hospitals that historically provided better care to white patients than black patients, the AI learns that pattern. If the training data shows that doctors were more likely to take men's chest pain seriously than women's, the AI incorporates that bias into its decision making. Dr. Aruha Benjamin, a sociologist at Princeton University, calls this the new Jim Crow: discrimination that's automated and hidden behind the veneer of objective scientific decision making. Studies have found that AI systems used in healthcare consistently recommend different treatments for patients of different races, even when their medical conditions are identical. They are more likely to flag white patients for intensive interventions and more likely to recommend conservative treatment for black patients. The terrifying thing is that this bias is invisible. When a human doctor makes a biased decision, we can call it out, challenge it, demand better. But when an AI system makes the same biased decision, it's presented as objective, scientific, beyond question. But here's the other side of the story. Sometimes speed matters more than perfect accuracy. Dr. James Park was working the night shift in the trauma bay at Seattle General when multiple ambulances arrived from a massive car accident on the interstate. 7 patients, all critical, all needing immediate attention. In the past, he would have had to quickly assess each patient, make split-second decisions about who needed surgery first, who could wait, who was beyond help. That night, The AI triage system analyzed all 7 patients in less than 2 seconds. It ranked them by survival probability, factored in resource availability, and gave Dr. Park a clear treatment priority list. I've never made decisions that fast or that confidently, Dr. Park later said. The AI saw patterns in the vital signs and injury types that would have taken me precious minutes to identify. In trauma medicine, those minutes can mean the difference between life and death. The AI's recommendations that night were flawless. All 7 patients survived, something Dr. Park isn't sure would have happened if he'd been making all the decisions himself. This is the impossible position that modern doctors find themselves in. They know that AI systems can process information faster and sometimes more accurately than they can. They know that in many cases, following the AI's recommendations leads to better outcomes for patients. But they also know that they are gradually losing control over the decisions that define their profession. Dr. Maria Rodriguez has been an emergency room physician for 20 years. She has seen medicine transform from an art based on experience and intuition to a science driven by data and algorithms. I became a doctor to help people, she says. I wanted to use my knowledge, my experience, my humanity to make a difference in people's lives. Now I feel like I'm just a rubber stamp for computer decisions. She pauses, then adds, but I also have to admit the computer is often right, sometimes more right than I would have been. This tension is playing out in hospitals everywhere. Some doctors embrace the AI systems, seeing them as powerful tools that make them better physicians. Others resist, arguing that medicine is fundamentally about human connection and judgment that can't be reduced to algorithms. Here's something that might surprise you. Most patients have no idea that AI systems are involved in their care. When you go to a hospital, you assume that the decisions about your treatment are being made by the doctors and nurses you see. You don't realize that algorithms might be determining how long you wait, what tests you get, or even whether you're admitted to the hospital. A recent survey found that 78% of patients want to know when AI systems are involved in their care, but only 15% said they had ever been told about it. This lack of transparency is partly because the AI integration happens behind the scenes. The doctor who tells you that you need surgery might be following a recommendation from an AI system, but they present it as their own medical judgment. It's also because hospitals worry that patients might lose trust if they knew how much AI was involved in their care. There's a fear that people might demand to see real doctors instead of accepting AI-assisted care. But this secrecy comes with costs. When patients don't know that AI is involved in their care, they can't make informed decisions about their treatment. They can't ask questions about how the AI system works or request human oversight when they're uncomfortable with algorithmic decisions. Different countries are taking very different approaches to AI in healthcare. In China, AI systems are being used extensively to manage healthcare resources and predict disease outbreaks. The Chinese government sees medical AI as a way to provide advanced healthcare to rural populations that lack access to specialist doctors. Some hospitals in major Chinese cities are almost entirely AI-driven, with human doctors serving mainly as supervisors and consultants. The European Union has taken a much more cautious approach. New regulations require that patients be informed when AI systems are involved in their care and give patients the right to request human review of AI decisions. European hospitals must also prove that their AI systems don't discriminate against protected groups. In the United States, the approach varies widely. Some hospitals have embraced AI decision making with minimal oversight, while others require human approval for all significant AI recommendations. The lack of federal regulation means that your experience with medical AI depends largely on which hospital you happen to visit. The AI systems making medical decisions today are primitive compared to what's coming next. Researchers are developing AI that can analyze your genetic code to predict diseases decades before symptoms appear, monitor your health continuously through wearable devices, and intervene before you even know you're sick, perform surgery with precision no human surgeon could match, design personalized medications tailored to your specific biology. These advances promise to revolutionize medicine, potentially eliminating many diseases and extending human lifespans dramatically. But they also raise even more complex questions about the role of human agency in healthcare. If an AI system can predict with 99% accuracy that you'll develop Alzheimer's disease in 20 years, should it be allowed to make decisions about your care based on that prediction? If an algorithm determines that a certain treatment has only a 5% chance of success, should it be allowed to deny you that treatment even if you want to try? Despite all the capabilities of AI, there are some things that algorithms still can do. They can't hold your hand when you're scared. They can't explain a diagnosis with compassion and empathy. They can't consider your personal values and beliefs when making treatment recommendations. They can't understand what quality of life means to you specifically. Dr. Sarah Kim, a pediatric oncologist, puts it this way: AI can tell me the statistical likelihood that a treatment will work, but it can't tell me whether that treatment is worth pursuing for this particular child, with this particular family, in this particular situation. That's still a uniquely human judgment. This is why many experts believe the future of medicine isn't about replacing human doctors with AI, but about creating partnerships between human and artificial intelligence that leverage the strengths of both. The use of AI in medical decision making raises profound ethical questions that we as a society are only beginning to grapple with. Should AI systems be programmed to prioritize saving the most lives possible, even if that means sacrificing individuals with lower survival probabilities? Should they consider age when making treatment decisions? What about social status, potential contributions to society, or ability to pay? These aren't just abstract philosophical questions. They're practical decisions that are being programmed into AI systems right now, often by software engineers who may not fully understand the ethical implications of their code. Professor Michael Chen, a bioethicist at Stanford University, warns, "We're encoding our values and biases into these systems, but we're doing it unconsciously and without democratic oversight. The decisions we make about how to program these AIs will shape life and death outcomes for millions of people." So where does this leave us? Are we heading toward a future where algorithms control every aspect of healthcare? Or will there be a backlash that returns human doctors to full control? The truth is probably somewhere in between. AI is too powerful and too useful to abandon, but it's also too important to be left entirely to machines. The challenge is figuring out how to harness the benefits of AI while preserving human agency, compassion, and ethical oversight. This will require transparency about when and how AI systems are used in healthcare, robust testing to identify and eliminate bias in AI decision making, strong oversight mechanisms to catch AI errors before they harm patients, clear legal frameworks for who is responsible when AI systems make mistakes, ongoing dialogue between doctors, patients, ethicists, and technologists about the role we want AI to play in medicine. Ultimately, the question isn't whether AI will continue to play a role in medical decision making, it will. The question is how much control we're willing to give these systems and what safeguards we put in place to protect human values and individual rights. Every day, in hospitals around the world, AI systems are making decisions that affect human lives. Some of these decisions save lives that would otherwise be lost. Others result in tragedies that might have been prevented by human judgment. As patients, as family members, as members of society, we all have a stake in how this technology develops. We can't leave these decisions entirely to technologists or hospital administrators or government regulators. We need to be part of the conversation about how AI shapes the future of healthcare, because in the end, the most important decision about AI in medicine isn't one that any algorithm can make. It's the decision we make as a society about how much of our humanity we're willing to delegate to machines. The next time you or someone you love walks into a hospital, an AI system might be making decisions about your care. The question is, are you comfortable with that? And if not, what are you going to do about it? The algorithm is waiting for an answer, and the clock is ticking. Patient advocacy groups have raised concerns about consent and transparency in AI driven medical decisions. Many patients are unaware that AI systems are influencing their care, let alone making critical decisions about their treatment. Patients have a right to know when algorithms are making decisions about their care, says Maria Santos, director of the Patient Rights Alliance. They should be able to understand how these decisions are made and have the option to request human oversight. Surveys of patients show mixed reactions to AI decision making in healthcare. 67% of patients support AI assistance in diagnosis and treatment planning. 45% are comfortable with AI making resource allocation decisions during emergencies. Only 23% support AI making end of life care decisions without human oversight. 78% want transparency about when AI systems are involved in their care. The medical community remains deeply divided on the role of AI in critical decision making. Supporters argue that AI systems can eliminate human biases, provide more consistent care, and make optimal use of limited resources. They point to evidence showing that AI can identify patterns and make predictions that human doctors miss. Dr. Sarah Chen, Chief of Emergency Medicine at the Stanford Medical Center, advocates for expanded AI decision making. We have to acknowledge that human decision making is flawed. We get tired, we have biases, we make mistakes. AI systems, when properly designed and implemented, can provide more consistent, evidence based decisions that ultimately save more lives. However, critics worry about the dehumanization of medicine and the loss of the doctor patient relationship. Dr. Michael Rodriguez, a bioethicist at Johns Hopkins, argues medicine is fundamentally about human relationships and understanding. When we delegate our most important decisions to algorithms, we risk losing the compassion, intuition, and holistic understanding that are essential to good medical care. Medical ethicists are grappling with fundamental questions about the role of AI in healthcare decision making. Traditional medical ethics, built around principles like autonomy, beneficence, and justice, must be re examined in the context of algorithmic decision making. Professor Elizabeth Thompson, director of the Center for Medical Ethics at Harvard, explains the challenge. Our ethical frameworks were developed for human decision makers. When we delegate decisions to AI systems, we need to think carefully about how to preserve human agency, ensure fairness, and maintain accountability. Key ethical concerns include autonomy. How can patients maintain meaningful control over their medical decisions when algorithms are making recommendations or choices on their behalf? Justice. How can we ensure that AI systems make fair decisions that don't discriminate against vulnerable populations? Transparency. Should patients have the right to understand exactly how AI systems make decisions about their care? Accountability. Who is responsible when AI systems make wrong decisions? The United States has taken a relatively permissive approach to AI in healthcare, with the FDA approving numerous AI diagnostic tools and treatment systems. However, regulation has been slow to catch up with the technology, leaving many AI applications in a regulatory gray area. American hospitals have been aggressive adopters of AI technology, driven by competitive pressures and the potential for cost savings. The fee-for-service healthcare model in the U.S. creates incentives for efficiency improvements that AI can provide. The integration of AI into medical decision making represents one of the most significant transformations in healthcare since the discovery of antibiotics. These systems offer the promise of more accurate diagnosis, optimized resource allocation, and consistent care delivery. They can process information faster than any human and may ultimately save more lives through their superior pattern recognition and predictive capabilities. However, the delegation of life and death decisions to algorithms also raises profound questions about the nature of medicine, the doctor patient relationship, and our responsibilities to one another as human beings. As we continue to develop and deploy these powerful technologies, we must ensure that they serve to enhance rather than replace human compassion, judgment, and care. The hospital that lets AI decide who lives or dies may not be a dystopian nightmare, but rather a new paradigm for medical care, one that requires careful implementation, robust oversight, and ongoing dialogue about how we want technology to shape our healthcare future. The decisions we make today about AI in medicine will determine whether these systems become tools for human flourishing or sources of new inequities and ethical challenges. As we stand at this crossroads, the stakes could not be higher. The choices we make about AI in healthcare will literally determine who lives and who dies in the years to come. Our challenge is to harness the power of artificial intelligence while preserving the humanity that lies at the heart of healing. The algorithm's next decision is just zero point 0.3 seconds away. The question is, are we ready for it?